In the ashes of a burning Jedi temple, a woman in crimson armor stands beside a Sith Lord, watching an empire fall to its knees. Her name is whispered across cantinas from the outer rim to the core, spoken with equal parts fear and reverence. Torch, the hunter, the one who would become Mandalore. But this is not a story of simple conquest. This is the chronicle of transformation, of a lone warrior who carved her name across the stars in blood and fire, only to discover that the greatest battles are not won with blasters and blades, but with something far more dangerous: vision, purpose, the weight of an entire people's future resting on shoulders built for war. Picture the moment when she first meets the eyes of Darth Malgus on the cursed sands of Korriban. Two warriors recognizing in each other the hunger for glory. Feel the ground tremble as Coruscant burns, the Republic brought to its knees by the very mercenaries it once defeated. Sense the cold weight of the mask of Mandalore in her hands, knowing that to wear it means to surrender everything she was for what her people must become. But here is the question that echoes through every battle, every choice, every life taken and life saved. Can a warrior born to destroy ever learn to build? Can someone who served masters ever become worthy to lead? And when the galaxy itself threatens to crumble beneath the boots of an eternal empire, will the clans she united stand firm or shatter like so many Mandalores before? Tonight we journey into the complete legend of Shae Vizla, the bounty hunter who became Mandalore the Avenger, a tale of honor, betrayal, and the brutal path from mercenary to leader of a warrior nation scattered across the stars. So before you settle in, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy the stories I share here. Here's something interesting. About 62% of people watching right now haven't subscribed yet. If you're enjoying this journey into Star Wars legends, hitting that subscribe button really helps this channel grow and bring you more forgotten tales from a galaxy far, far away. And I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're listening from and what time it is there. Whether you're winding down after a long day or starting your morning, it's always amazing to see this community spanning the globe. Now dim the lights, get comfortable under your blanket, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together, into a story of crimson armor and ancient codes, of empires rising and falling, and one warrior's impossible dream to unite the most feared fighters the galaxy has ever known. Our tale begins in the twilight years of the Great Galactic War, approximately 3,681 years before the rise of the Galactic Empire. The galaxy bleeds. For decades, the Sith Empire has surged from the unknown regions like a tide of darkness, clashing against the thousand-year-old Republic in a conflict that has consumed entire star systems and shattered countless lives. But for the Mandalorians, this war is merely another chapter in a much longer, much darker story. Centuries have passed since the Mandalorian Wars, since the legendary Mandalore the Ultimate led his clans in a crusade that nearly brought the Republic to its knees. Centuries since the Jedi Revan shattered their armies and their pride in a single devastating campaign. The clans scattered like sand in a stellar wind, their homeworlds occupied, their culture bleeding away generation by generation. The mask of Mandalore, that sacred symbol of unity and strength, sits empty. No warrior has been worthy to claim it. No leader has emerged to bind the broken clans together. In this age of shame and division, Mandalorians survive as they can. Some hire themselves to the highest bidder, their skills reduced to mere currency. Others cling to isolated worlds, nursing ancient grudges and fading traditions. The proud warrior culture that once made the galaxy tremble has become fragmented, purposeless, a shadow of former glory. It is in this scattered diaspora that Shae Vizla comes of age. Born into Clan Vizla, on a world whose name barely matters anymore, She learns what it means to be Mandalorian in an era when that identity brings more burden than pride. Her training begins before she can walk properly, her first weapon placed in small hands, still learning to grip. The armor she wears is not merely protection, it is identity, legacy, the physical manifestation of a culture that refuses to die even as it bleeds out across the stars. By the time she reaches adulthood, Shae has earned a reputation that spreads beyond her clan. Her tracking skills are exceptional, her combat prowess undeniable. She moves through the galaxy's shadows as a bounty hunter, taking contracts that others consider too dangerous, pursuing targets that others fear to touch. The nickname finds her naturally, Torch, for the way her targets burn when she finds them, for the trail of fire she leaves across world after world. She stands tall despite scars earned in 100 fights, her armor the deep crimson of Clan Vizla, marked with symbols that speak of lineage and battle honors. Her eyes have seen more death than most warriors twice her age. Her voice carries the confidence of someone who has faced the worst the galaxy offers and survived. But she is not yet legendary, not yet a name that will echo through history. She is simply another Mandalorian mercenary, exceptional perhaps, but still just one warrior among thousands scattered across an indifferent galaxy. The path from hunter to Mandalore, from solitary warrior to leader of nations, that journey has not yet begun. The Sith Empire is about to change that. The first whispers of opportunity arrive on Geonosis, in a cantina that smells of engine grease and desperation. Shae sits alone, cleaning her blaster rifle with practiced efficiency, when the Imperial agent slides into the booth across from her. He wears civilian clothes, but she recognizes the type, intelligence operative, the kind who deals in secrets and lives. He does not waste time with pleasantries. The Sith Empire needs specialists, hunters who can move unseen, strike without warning, disappear before consequences arrive. The Republic has grown comfortable in its superiority, complacent in its ancient strength. That comfort must be shattered. Those comfortable senators and overconfident generals need to learn fear again. The credits offered are substantial, more than substantial, the kind of payment that could set up a clan for years. But Shae has never been motivated purely by money. What catches her attention is something else. The agent mentions almost casually. The Empire values warriors, true warriors, not the soft politicians of the Republic, not the hypocritical Jedi who preach peace while commanding armies. The Sith respect strength in its purest form. For a Mandalorian raised on stories of how the Jedi crushed her people, how the Republic scattered the clans and occupied their worlds, the appeal runs deeper than credits ever could. She takes the first contract, a Republic general on Balmorra, someone coordinating resistance against Imperial occupation. The mission requires infiltration through heavily defended territory, patience to wait for the perfect moment, precision to execute without witnesses. Everything a Mandalorian hunter trains for from childhood. The kill is clean, professional. The general never sees her coming, never knows who ended his command. Shae extracts before his bodyguards even realize their charge has stopped breathing. The Empire pays immediately, and more importantly, they send another contract within days. Then another, and another. Over the following months, Shae carves a bloody path through the Republic's mid-level leadership. Officers who thought themselves safe behind battle lines. Spies who believed their covers impenetrable. Jedi who assumed the Force would warn them of danger. She becomes a ghost story that Republic intelligence officers whisper about, a shadow they cannot catch or predict. But the work troubles her in ways she does not initially acknowledge. There is no honor in these kills, no glory. Her targets are rarely warriors. More often they are administrators, logisticians, people whose only crime is serving the Republic competently. The Mandalorian Code speaks of honorable combat. of testing oneself against worthy opponents. This feels more like pest control than warfare. Yet she continues, perhaps because the credits are good, perhaps because turning down imperial contracts seems unwise once you have accepted the first, or perhaps because some part of her wants to believe the Empire's promises, wants to see the Republic that destroyed her people's power brought low. The summons arrives without warning, not another contract, but an invitation. Personal request from Darth Malgus himself. The Dark Lord wishes to meet the hunter called Torch to discuss matters of mutual interest. Refusal is not presented as an option, though the invitation is phrased politely enough. Shae has heard of Malgus. Every operative working for the Empire has heard of him. A Sith Lord who leads from the front, who disdains politics in favor of pure military conquest. Unlike many Sith who hide behind apprentices and expendable troops, Malgus walks battlefields personally, his lightsaber reaping Republic soldiers like wheat before the scythe. They meet on Documentaries, in a war room overlooking the Imperial Citadel. Rain hammers against the viewports, turning the cityscape into a blur of lights and shadows. Malgus stands studying tactical displays when she enters, his armor scarred from countless battles, his presence radiating controlled violence. He turns to face her, and Shae finds herself surprised, not by his appearance, though the respirator covering his ruined jaw gives him an intimidating aspect. What surprises her is the lack of typical Sith arrogance. He does not sneer at her, does not treat her as a hired tool beneath his notice. Instead, his eyes assess her the way one warrior evaluates another, measuring capability and will. Their conversation spans hours. Malgus speaks of his vision for the Empire, of a society built on strength rather than bloodline, where power is earned through action rather than inherited. He asks about Mandalorian culture, genuinely curious about the warrior traditions that produced fighters capable of challenging the Jedi at their height. When Shae explains the shame of defeat, the scattered clans, the fading traditions, something almost like understanding crosses his scarred features. He has a mission that requires someone exceptional, not another assassination, but something far more dangerous. A strike at the heart of Sith power itself, at the ancient tombs of Korriban, where the dark side runs thick as blood. The Republic has sent archaeologists there, Jedi poking through sacred sites like scavengers. This intrusion cannot stand. But more than simply killing Jedi, Malgus needs someone who understands tactics, who can adapt when plans collapse, who will not break when facing Force wielders at the height of their power. He needs a Mandalorian. Shae considers the offer carefully. Korriban, the Sith holy world, facing Jedi in direct combat rather than hunting from shadows. Everything about this mission screams danger, the kind that gets even skilled warriors killed. Yet something in Malgus's words resonates. He speaks of proving strength, of demonstrating that the Republic's time of dominance approaches its end. For a Mandalorian hungry to show the galaxy that her people still matter, still possess the power to shake empires, the appeal proves irresistible. She accepts, not for credits this time, though payment is arranged. She accepts, because for the first time since taking Imperial contracts, this feels like real warfare. This feels like something a Mandalorian warrior could take pride in. Malgus nods once, satisfied. He mentions that others will join the team. Imperial Special Forces, the best soldiers the Sith military can provide. And someone else. A woman named Elena Daru, a twistlick, who serves as more than just another operative. The way he says her name, the slight softening in his voice, tells Shae everything she needs to know. Even Sith Lords, it seems, are capable of attachment. The knowledge is filed away, potentially useful, certainly interesting. They depart Documentaries within the week. Shae watches the rain-soaked world recede through the transport's viewport, wondering if she will survive to see it again. Korriban awaits. The tombs of ancient Sith Lords, the weight of dark side power accumulated over millennia, and somewhere among the dunes and monuments, Jedi who have no idea death travels toward them on Imperial ships. For the first time in months, Shae feels the familiar anticipation of real combat. Not murders in the dark, but open battle against worthy opponents. This is what she was trained for. This is what being Mandalorian means. The mission to Korriban will change everything, though she does not know it yet. The warrior who returns from those ancient tombs will be different from the hunter who departs. Forged in combat against Jedi Masters, tempered by witnessing true Sith power unleashed, she will begin to understand that the galaxy stands on the edge of transformation, and she will have a choice to make about which side of that transformation she wishes to stand on. Korriban emerges from hyperspace like a wound in reality, all red sand and black stone beneath a sky, the color of old blood. Shae has seen hostile worlds before, planets where the environment itself tries to kill you, but this feels different. The dark side saturates everything here. Even through the transport's hull, she can sense something wrong about this place, something that makes her armor feel too tight and her weapons too light. Malgus briefs the team during final approach. The Republic expedition has established a small camp near the tomb of Marka Ragnas, one of the most powerful Sith Lords in ancient history. Intelligence reports indicate at least 2 Jedi among the archaeologists, maybe more. Standard Republic arrogance, assuming their presence on Sith holy ground will go unchallenged because of some outdated treaty the Empire never truly respected. The strike team is small. Malgus himself, of course. Elena Daru, whose skills with a blaster rifle rival Shae's own. 6 Imperial Special Forces soldiers, veterans selected for their ability to fight Force users without dying immediately. And Shae, the only Mandalorian, chosen because when Jedi need to die, you bring someone whose ancestors made it an art form. They land several kilometers from the Republic camp, using a canyon system to approach undetected. The heat is oppressive even through armor's climate controls. Sand works its way into every seal and joint. Above them, the Valley of the Dark Lord stretches in silent judgment, massive tombs carved into cliff faces, monuments to power that makes modern Sith seem like children playing with toys. Shae has fought in many environments, but never anywhere that feels so heavy with history and malice. The tombs watch them pass. Ancient Sith Lords, long dead but somehow still present, their spirits bound to this cursed place by dark side rituals. She focuses on her weapons check, on the familiar weight of her blaster rifle, on the tasks ahead rather than the oppressive atmosphere. Malgus leads them through the ruins with certainty, as if the dark side itself guides his steps. Perhaps it does. He pauses occasionally, sensing something the others cannot, adjusting their approach vector. Elena stays close to him, her movements fluid and confident. The Special Forces soldiers maintain professional discipline, but Shae can see the tension in their postures. They feel it too, the wrongness of this place, the sense of walking through a graveyard that might wake at any moment. The Republic camp appears suddenly as they crest a dune. Prefabricated structures clustered around the tomb entrance, scanning equipment and excavation tools scattered about. The casual disorder of academics who believe themselves safe. Shae counts sentries, only 4 visible plus whoever mans the equipment stations. Sloppy security. The Republic has grown too comfortable in its dominance, too confident that the Empire will honor treaties. Malgus does not believe in treaties. The attack begins without warning or ceremony. The Sith Lord simply ignites his lightsaber and charges. The Special Forces soldiers follow immediately, trained to capitalize on Force user aggression. Shae and Elena take elevated positions, rifles finding targets with practiced efficiency. The first sentries die before they can raise alarms. The second wave, those inside the structures, manage to activate emergency beacons before Malgus cuts through the walls and through them. Blaster fire erupts from multiple angles, the sharp crack of energy weapons echoing off ancient stone. Then the Jedi emerge, and everything changes. The first is a Zabrak, horns adorned with gold rings, robes already singed from Malgus's opening strike. His lightsaber blazes blue against the red sand, and he moves with the impossible speed of a Force user at full power. The second Jedi is younger, a human woman with skin the color of bronze and eyes that burn with righteous fury. Her green blade joins her master's, and together they meet Malgus in the kind of combat that most beings only witness in holovids. Shae has studied Jedi fighting styles, knows their patterns and weaknesses, but watching Malgus engage them is an education in itself. He fights with pure aggression, no defense, only relentless attack. His crimson blade weaves patterns of death, each strike carrying enough force to shatter stone. The Zabrak master meets him evenly, but the younger Jedi struggles against the sheer brutality of Sith combat philosophy. While the Force users battle, Shae has work of her own. Republic soldiers pour from the structures, better armed and trained than the sentries. She drops 3 before they acquire her position, then relocates as return fire tears through her previous cover. Across the camp, Elena does the same, the two of them working in unconscious synchronization, creating crossfire zones that turn the battlefield into a killing ground. An Imperial soldier goes down, throat opened by a precise blaster shot from a Republic marksman Shae has not spotted yet. She tracks the shot angle, compensates for wind, fires twice. The enemy marksman tumbles from his perch, and she is already moving again. The Zabrak master proves why the Jedi are feared across the galaxy. Despite Malgus's onslaught, he holds position, his blade deflecting strikes that should overwhelm any defense. The younger Jedi fights beside him with desperate courage, covering his flanks, keeping Malgus from executing the killing techniques that have ended so many duels. Shae realizes with cold tactical clarity that if the Jedi win, the entire strike team dies. Force users of this caliber can deflect blaster bolts, can sense attacks before they develop, can kill with gesture and thought. Without Malgus engaging them directly, the rest of the team becomes merely targets. She shifts focus, not trying for kill shots on the Jedi. Those are nearly impossible, but harassment, forcing them to divide attention, to deflect from unexpected angles, to split concentration between Malgus and incoming fire. Each shot she takes is calculated not to hit but to disrupt, to create fractional openings that a fighter like Malgus can exploit. Elena understands instantly, adjusting her own fire pattern to complement. The two warriors work in wordless coordination, pouring fire at the Jedi from shifting positions, never enough to overwhelm their defenses, but enough to divide their focus. The younger Jedi makes a mistake. Just a small one, her attention drawn by a near miss from Elena, her guard dropping fractionally. Malgus does not miss such opportunities. His blade crashes through her defense, and she stumbles. The Zabrak master moves to protect her, but now he faces Malgus alone, his superior position sacrificed to save his apprentice. The duel intensifies. The Zabrak fights with everything he has, blade work perfect, force powers deployed with precision. But Malgus is relentless. He accepts injuries that would stop normal warriors, pushing through pain and damage with pure dark side-fueled aggression. His armor shows scorch marks from glancing lightsaber strikes. Blood runs from wounds the Zabrak's blade has opened. None of it slows him. Shae watches a master of the Jedi Order die. It takes time. The Zabrak does not fall easily. He fights with courage that even a Mandalorian can respect, protecting his wounded apprentice, holding position against impossible odds. But Malgus breaks him eventually, the Sith Lord's blade finding vitals, ending the Master's decades of training and power in a single stroke. The young Jedi, the one with bronze skin and burning eyes, flees. Shae has a shot. Clean angle, easy kill. Her finger rests on the trigger, following the running figure. Then Malgus's voice cuts through the combat haze, ordering them to let her go. The girl needs to carry word of this defeat back to the Republic. They need to know their Jedi can bleed, can die, that the Empire will not tolerate intrusion on sacred ground. Shae lowers her rifle, professional enough to follow orders even when instinct screams to take the shot. The cleanup is methodical and brutal. No prisoners, no survivors, except the fleeing Jedi. The Republic expedition is erased, their equipment destroyed, their bodies left for the desert scavengers. Imperial soldiers sweep the camp for intelligence, while Malgus stands over the Zabrak's corpse, studying the dead master's face with something that might be respect. Elena finds Shae checking her equipment. The Twittiel's armor shows scorch marks from near misses, but she moves with the calm of someone accustomed to walking away from combat. They exchange nods, no words needed. Both are professionals. Both survived. Malgus gathers the team as Korriban's sun begins its descent, painting the Valley of the Dark Lords in deeper shades of red. He speaks briefly, praising their efficiency, noting the clean execution despite facing Jedi opposition. Then he turns to Shae specifically. The Mandalorian fought well, adapted to changing circumstances, provided support that made the difference when the Jedi pressed hardest. The Empire has use for warriors of such caliber. There will be more missions, greater battles, opportunities to prove strength against the Republic's finest. She accepts the praise with professional acknowledgement. Inside, though, questions churn. She has killed many beings in her career, but never witnessed anything like what happened today. The Zabrak died defending his student and his principles, faced overwhelming force with courage that deserved better fate. The Republic archaeologists were slaughtered for the crime of studying ancient history. This is what she signed on for. This is the Empire she chose to serve. Yet watching Malgus cut down that Jedi Master, seeing the Republic bodies scattered across red sand, something shifts in her perception. The Sith respect strength, yes, but they respect nothing else. Honor means nothing to them. Mercy is weakness. They will use Mandalorians as weapons until those weapons break or are no longer needed, then discard them without thought. She keeps these thoughts private. Professionalism demands it. She accepted this mission, will see it through, will take the credits and the reputation it brings. But the seed of doubt has been planted. The question of whether serving the Empire truly serves Mandalorian interests has taken root somewhere deep. They depart Korriban as darkness falls, the transport lifting away from that cursed world. Shae watches through the viewport as the Valley of the Dark Lords recedes below, wondering what the ancient Sith spirits made of today's violence. More blood spilled in their names, more death to feed the eternal hunger of the dark side. The young Jedi who escaped, the one with bronze skin and burning eyes, her name was Sutail Shan. Shae learns this from Imperial intelligence reports during the flight back. The girl is descended from Revan himself, carries a bloodline heavy with significance and power. She will remember this day, remember her master's sacrifice, remember the Sith who killed him and the Mandalorian who helped. Their paths will cross again, Shae suspects. The galaxy is vast, but warriors of their caliber move in intersecting circles. When they meet next, it will not be as hunter and prey. It will be as enemies who understand each other's capacity for violence. For now, though, the mission is complete. The team returns to Imperial space with success to report, and the Republic's blood on their hands. Malgus is satisfied. The Dark Council will be pleased, and Shae has earned her place among the Empire's most valued operatives. The question of whether that is something to celebrate or fear remains unanswered. The greatest military secret in galactic history unfolds over months of careful preparation, while the Republic and Empire negotiate treaties on Alderaan, while diplomats exchange pleasantries and sign documents. The Sith assemble a dagger aimed at the heart of civilization itself. Coruscant, the Republic capital, home to a trillion beings, seat of the Senate, location of the Jedi Temple. For 20,000 years, it has stood inviolate, the center around which galactic politics revolves. The very concept of attacking it seems impossible. The defenses are too strong, the distances too vast, the strategic position too well fortified. The Empire will attack it anyway. Shae learns of the plan 3 months before execution, brought into the operational briefing alongside a select group of commanders and special operatives. The scope takes her breath away. Hundreds of ships, thousands of troops, coordination across multiple fleets, all moving in absolute secrecy toward a target the Republic believes untouchable. This is not a raid, not a surgical strike like Korriban. This is invasion and conquest. An attack meant to break the Republic's will and force them to accept defeat. The Sith have calculated that Coruscant itself, held hostage, will be worth any concession they demand. Malgus commands the ground assault. Naturally, the Sith Lord has been given control of the operation most likely to result in glorious combat and maximum carnage. He personally selects team leaders for the various objectives, and when he reaches the assignment for the Jedi Temple District, he does not hesitate. Shae will lead the Mandalorian contingent assigned to that sector. 40 of the best warriors the scattered clans can provide, fighters who have proven themselves in Imperial service, now given the opportunity to assault the home of the Order that destroyed Mandalorian power generations ago. The historical symmetry is not lost on anyone. The weeks before the attack are consumed by planning and preparation, studying holographic maps of Coruscant's endless cityscape, memorizing routes through districts, identifying choke points and defensive positions. The Jedi Temple sits in the center of its own precinct, surrounded by ancient structures and meditation gardens. Taking it will require fighting through some of the most difficult urban terrain imaginable, against defenders who can sense attacks before they develop. Shae meets her Mandalorian warriors on Dromund Kaas, assessing the fighters who will follow her into history. They come from different clans, wear armor in different colors and configurations, but all share the hunger to prove themselves. Some are veterans who remember better days. Others are young, raised on stories of past glory, desperate to reclaim what was lost. She addresses them in Mando'er, the ancient language, reminding them of what they fight for, not Imperial credits, not Sith approval. They fight because Mandalorians are warriors, and the Jedi Temple represents the ultimate test of warrior skill. They fight because their ancestors demand it. They fight to show the galaxy that despite defeat and diaspora, the clans endure. The speech is unnecessary. These warriors would follow her into the Maw itself, if ordered. But ritual matters. Words spoken before battle carry weight. The fleet departs in carefully staggered groups, using routes designed to avoid Republic patrols. Hyperspace jumps are calculated to bring the entire armada to Coruscant simultaneously, giving defenders no time to prepare, no opportunity to call for reinforcements. The operation's success depends entirely on speed and overwhelming force applied before the Republic can organize response. Shae rides in a military transport packed with her Mandalorians, the air thick with anticipation and recycled atmosphere. No one speaks much. Veterans check weapons for the 100th time. Younger warriors try to hide nervousness behind confident facades. She makes rounds through the hold, offering quiet words, checking readiness, ensuring everyone understands their objectives. Elena finds her during one such round. The Twilight has her own assignment, a separate strike team hitting infrastructure targets. They will not fight together this time. Elena clasps her forearm in the warrior's grip, wishes her success, and disappears back into the organized chaos of pre-combat preparation. The reversion to real space happens with the characteristic lurch of ships dropping from hyperspace. Through the transport's viewports, Coruscant appears. The city planet, endless lights stretching across the visible surface, layer upon layer of civilization built up over millennia, beautiful in its way, ancient beyond measure, about to burn. The Imperial fleet emerges in coordinated perfection, hundreds of warships materializing in orbit simultaneously. For precious seconds, the Republic defenders simply stare, unable to process the impossibility of what they are seeing, an Imperial armada at Coruscant. The thing that cannot happen, happening. Then orbital defense platforms open fire, and the space battle begins in earnest. Capital ships trade turbo-laser volleys that light up the dark. Starfighters swarm from both fleets, engaging in furious dogfights above the capital world. The roar of combat fills every frequency. But the ground assault does not wait for space superiority. That would take too long, give defenders too much time to organize. Instead, drop ships plunge toward the surface immediately, accepting horrific casualties to get troops planetside before resistance solidifies. Shae's transport shudders as point defense fire rakes the hull. Alarms scream. The pilot wrestles with controls, compensating for damage, adjusting descent angle. Around them, other transports burn and die, taking their precious cargo of troops down in flames. The Mandalorian next to Shae, a veteran named Ravik, mutters a prayer to ancient warrior gods. They hit atmosphere going too fast, the hull temperature climbing toward critical. Through viewports, Coruscant's cityscape rises to meet them, a landscape of towers and platforms stretching to every horizon. The pilot brings them down hard in a commercial district 6 blocks from the temple precinct, the landing crushing parked speeders and sending civilians screaming in every direction. The ramp drops before they fully settle. Shae leads her Mandalorians into Coruscant morning, into a world that has not seen ground combat in living memory. The civilians are easy to scatter, more confused than hostile. It is the Coruscant security forces that arrive first, police speeders responding to reports of invasion with touching faith that this must be some mistake. The Mandalorians educate them quickly and lethally. This is no mistake. This is conquest. They fight through block after block, encountering escalating resistance. Security forces give way to Republic military units, hastily deployed, still organizing. Shae's warriors move with practiced efficiency, using the urban terrain, advancing in coordinated bounds, covering each other with overlapping fields of fire. The training investment shows these are not scattered mercenaries, but a unified force, and they tear through defenders with shocking speed. The first Jedi appears at the precinct boundary. A human male, middle-aged, his green blade igniting as he steps into the intersection. Behind him, more Jedi are coming, the temple responding to the attack. Finally, worthy opponents. Shae signals for heavy weapons. Mandalorians carrying missile launchers step forward, acquiring the Jedi in their sights. The Force user deflects the first 2 rockets, blade weaving impossible patterns, but the third catches him mid-dodge. The explosion tears through that intersection, and when the smoke clears, the Jedi is down. They push forward over his body. More Jedi appear, defending their temple with desperate courage. The battle becomes brutal. Close-quarters urban warfare, where Force powers and lightsabers meet Mandalorian weapons and tactics refined over centuries of fighting Force users. Both sides take casualties. Mandalorian warriors fall to deflected blaster bolts and Force pushes that send them tumbling from platforms. Jedi die to focused fire and explosive traps that their precognition cannot quite predict. Shae fights in the thick of it, her blaster rifle barking in controlled bursts, her tactical mind processing the chaos and issuing orders. Ravik goes down beside her, a lightsaber through his chest, and she avenges him before his body hits the ground. The warrior who kills the Jedi dies moments later, caught by another defender's blade, and so it goes, each side bleeding, neither yielding. Then Malgus arrives with the main assault force, and the temple's fate is sealed. The Sith Lord crashes into the Jedi defenders like a meteor, his crimson blade reaping lives with each strike. He fights with the same brutal aggression Shae witnessed on Korriban, but here, fueled by the dark side energies of this moment, he seems almost unstoppable. Jedi Masters who should overpower any single opponent fall before his onslaught. The Mandalorians rally around him, adding blaster fire to his lightsaber assault, creating a wedge that drives toward the temple's main entrance. The Jedi fight desperately, knowing that if the temple falls, the Republic's moral authority falls with it. But desperation is not enough against this combination of Sith power and Mandalorian ferocity. They breach the entrance. The temple interior is beautiful, even in the chaos of combat. Ancient architecture designed to inspire contemplation and peace. Shae's boots ring on polished floors, never meant to know violence. Her weapon's fire echoes through meditation halls built for silence. Mandalorians and Sith desecrate this sacred space together, hunting Jedi through corridors where generations learned to serve the Force. The battle for the temple spans hours. The Jedi defend every hall, every chamber, selling their lives dearly, but they cannot hold. Malgus is everywhere, seemingly tireless, his blade cutting through defender after defender. The Mandalorians secure key positions, establish fields of fire that make counterattacks suicidal. Slowly, inevitably, the temple falls. Shae reaches the archives, vast libraries containing 20,000 years of Jedi knowledge. Other Mandalorians are already there, setting demolition charges. She watches ancient texts burn, knowledge accumulated over millennia, reduced to ash and smoke. Part of her, the part raised on stories of Mandalorian defeat, feels satisfaction. This is revenge for her people's humiliation. But another part, smaller and quieter, feels only waste. So much history destroyed, so much wisdom lost, and for what? Sith ambition. Imperial conquest, the endless cycle of violence that serves no one's interests except those who profit from warfare. The demolitions expert looks to her for confirmation. She gives it. The charges are set. The archives will burn. Outside, across Coruscant, other battles rage. Imperial forces secure strategic positions while Republic defenders mount increasingly desperate counterattacks. The space battle continues, both fleets locked in brutal engagement, but the ground assault has achieved its primary objective. The Jedi Temple is taken. The Republic's spiritual center has fallen. Word arrives that negotiations on Alderaan have broken down. The Sith delegation has revealed the truth. Coruscant is under attack. The Jedi Temple is burning. Unless the Republic surrenders immediately and accepts Imperial terms, the capital will be systematically destroyed. The Senate, presented with this impossible situation, has no choice. They agree to the treaty. The war is over, not because either side achieved military victory, but because the Sith were willing to commit an atrocity that the Republic could not counter. Shae stands in the temple gardens as news of the surrender arrives. Around her, Mandalorians tend to wounded and count their dead. They lost 18 warriors taking this place. 18 of the best fighters the clans could provide, dead for the Empire's ambitions. She commits each name to memory. Mandalorian tradition demands it. Malgus finds her there as smoke rises from burning archives. His armor is scorched and bloodied, his respirator damaged, but he carries himself with satisfaction. They accomplished something today that will echo through galactic history. The Republic brought to its knees, the Jedi shown to be mortal. He thanks her personally for the Mandalorians' contribution. Without them, casualties would have been far higher, success less certain. The Empire remembers its debts. There will be rewards, recognition, opportunities for future service. Shae accepts his words with professional courtesy. But inside, watching smoke rise from the burning temple, seeing Coruscant's skyline dotted with fires from the day's violence, she feels something crystallize. This is not her war. These are not her victories. The Mandalorians shed blood today for Sith ambitions, died for Imperial conquest. And when the Empire no longer needs them, when new enemies appear or priorities shift, her people will be discarded like any other expendable resource. The Republic humiliated the Mandalorians generations ago. The Empire uses them as tools today. Neither offers a path forward, neither serves Mandalorian interests beyond immediate payment. If her people are to have a future, it must be one they build themselves, not as mercenaries serving others' causes, but as an independent force pursuing their own destiny. The path from Hunter to Mandalore begins here, in the ashes of the Jedi Temple, in the smoking ruins of Republic pride. Watching empires clash over ideologies and territory that mean nothing to scattered clans, Shae understands what must be done. The clans need unity. They need purpose. They need a leader willing to forge them into something more than just galaxy's best hired killers. She does not speak these thoughts aloud. Not here, not now, surrounded by Imperial forces celebrating their triumph. But the decision has been made, deep in her warrior's heart, where such choices originate. The galaxy will remember this day as the sacking of Coruscant, the moment the Republic learned humility and the Empire demonstrated ruthlessness. But for Shae Vizla, it is something else entirely. It is the day she stops serving others and begins the long journey toward leading her own people. The transformation has begun. The Treaty of Coruscant brings not peace but frozen conflict. The galaxy divides along new boundaries, Republic and Empire glaring at each other across demilitarized zones, both sides nursing wounds and plotting revenge. They call it the Cold War, as if the absence of open battle makes it something other than warfare. Beings still die. Worlds still burn. The killing simply becomes more selective, more deniable. Shae continues taking Imperial contracts because that is what Mandalorian mercenaries do. She has a reputation now, enhanced by her role in the Coruscant operation. The Empire pays well for her services, sends her against targets they need eliminated quietly. Republic agents in Imperial territory, dissidents who threaten stability, sometimes other Mandalorians, those who serve the Republic or remain stubbornly independent. That last category troubles her most, hunting her own people. But contracts are contracts, and refusing Imperial work carries consequences she is not yet ready to face. The years blur together in a succession of missions and kills. She operates across both Imperial and Republic space, her Mandalorian armor granting a strange kind of diplomatic immunity. Both sides employ Mandalorians. Both sides need plausible deniability for certain operations. A Mandalorian bounty hunter can cross borders that regular military forces cannot. The work is profitable. Her clan receives steady income. Younger warriors seek her out for training. Drawn by her growing legend, she should feel satisfied. This is success by any reasonable measure. Instead, she feels increasingly hollow. The problem reveals itself gradually, accumulating across dozens of missions. She watches Mandalorians kill each other over Republic and Imperial disputes that have nothing to do with their people's interests. She sees clans tear themselves apart over which side to support, ancient bonds shattered by wars. Neither faction truly cares about winning. The galaxy's two great powers use Mandalorians as convenient tools, expending their lives in proxy conflicts while keeping their own forces in reserve. On Onderon, she encounters a Mandalorian warrior named Shisa serving the Republic. They nearly kill each other before recognizing the absurdity. Two warriors from clans that once fought side by side, now trying to murder each other because their current employers demand it. They lower their weapons by unspoken agreement, both disgusted by what they have become. Shisa speaks words that echo in her mind for months afterward. We were a people once. Now we are just weapons that others point at their enemies. When did we forget that Mandalorians are supposed to serve Mandalore, not senators and Sith Lords? She has no answer. The mask of Mandalore remains unclaimed. No warrior has emerged with the strength and vision to unite the scattered clans. Without that unity, they will continue bleeding away, generation by generation, until nothing remains but stories and empty armor. The Sith politics she observes during these years only deepen her disillusionment. The Dark Council members scheme against each other endlessly, their competition for power creating chaos that serves no strategic purpose. Promising officers are murdered by rivals. Successful campaigns are sabotaged because giving credit to one lord strengthens them against another. The Empire's strength is constantly undermined by internal conflicts. Malgus sees it too. She encounters him occasionally during this period, and each time he seems more frustrated with the system he serves. He speaks carefully, aware that walls have listening devices and loyalty is rewarded while doubt brings execution. But she hears the dissatisfaction. The Sith Empire he envisioned, one built on merit and strength, exists only in his imagination. The reality is corrupt aristocrats clinging to power through bloodline and politics. She wonders sometimes if he will act on that frustration. If the warrior who led the assault on Coruscant will eventually turn his considerable power against the system itself. The thought is dangerous, the kind that gets beings disappeared. She keeps it private. The breaking point arrives on a world whose name barely matters. Some backwater colony, where two Mandalorian clans have been feuding for 3 generations over a perceived insult no one even remembers clearly anymore. The fighting has escalated from individual duels to full skirmishes, drawing in allied clans, threatening to spread across the sector. Shae is hired by one side to eliminate the other clan's leadership, standard contract work. She accepts because the credits are good and because turning down work invites questions about loyalty. She arrives to find the settlement already half destroyed, not from recent fighting, but from years of neglect. Mandalorian warriors so focused on their feud that they have let their homes crumble, their children go unfed, their culture fade into angry echoes. The two clans are killing each other over pride, while their shared way of life dies from inattention. The target is easy to locate, an aging warrior named Karud, respected fighter in his youth, now consumed by hatred for the rival clan. She finds him preparing another raid, organizing young warriors for an attack that will accomplish nothing except creating more orphans. Shae could complete the contract. One shot, clean kill, collect payment. Instead, she does something that surprises even herself. She walks into the camp openly, identifies herself, and asks to speak with Karud as one warrior to another. The old man receives her with cautious respect. Her reputation precedes her. When she explains that she was hired to kill him, he simply nods, unsurprised. This is what their conflict has come to. Outsiders paid to settle Mandalorian disputes. She asks him why. Why continue a feud that serves no purpose? Why waste Mandalorian lives on ancient grudges when the clans desperately need unity? Why choose pride over survival? His answer is honest and painful, because without the feud, what are we? Just another dying culture, fading into the galaxy's background noise. At least fighting gives us purpose, even if that purpose is stupid. At least we are still warriors, even if we are fighting the wrong enemies. The conversation lasts hours. Other clan members gather, listening. Some argue, some agree. The younger warriors especially seem hungry for something beyond endless cycles of revenge. They want to be Mandalorian, but no one has shown them what that means beyond violence. An elderly woman, Karud's sister, speaks quietly near the end. We need Mandalore. Someone to remind us what we are supposed to be. Someone to give us purpose beyond killing each other for the Empire's amusement. Without that, We will all die as dogs fighting for scraps. Her words pierce something deep in Shae's chest. This is the truth she has been avoiding. The clans will not unite themselves. They need a leader. They need someone willing to claim the mask and all the responsibility that comes with it. She leaves without completing the contract. Lets Karud live, forfeits the payment, and probably burns the client relationship. But she carries away something more valuable than credits: clarity, purpose, understanding of what must be done. 2 weeks later, Malgus makes his move. He declares independence from the Dark Council, establishes his own empire on Ilum, and calls for all who value merit over bloodline to join him. The message reaches Shae on Nar Shaddaa, delivered through encrypted channels by someone who knows her history with the Sith Lord. Malgus is offering exactly what he promised years ago: an empire where Mandalorians would have status and respect, where strength determines position rather than birth. He is asking her specifically to join, to bring her warriors and reputation to his cause. The temptation is real. She respects Malgus as a warrior and leader. His vision is genuinely better than the corrupt system he is rebelling against. Fighting for him would be honorable in ways that mercenary work has not been for years, but it would still be fighting for someone else's empire, someone else's vision. Even if Malgus wins, even if he creates something better than what exists, it will be his creation. Mandalorians would have a place in it, yes, but always as subordinates, always serving rather than leading. She thinks of Karud's sister. We need Mandalore, not another master to serve, not another employer to bleed for. Their own leader, their own purpose. The decision crystallizes with painful clarity. She will not join Malgus. She will not fight for the Republic or the old Empire either. She will pursue the only path that actually serves Mandalorian interests. She will unite the clans herself, claim the mask if she proves worthy, give her people the leadership they need to become something more than the galaxy's most effective killers for hire. The response to Malgus is difficult to compose. How do you tell a friend and respected warrior that you are refusing his offer, not from cowardice, but from higher duty? She keeps it simple. Thanks him for the opportunity. Explains that she has her own path to walk, her own people to serve, wishes him success in his rebellion. His reply arrives 2 days later, brief, understanding. He knows about duty and difficult choices. If her path ever intersects with his again, he hopes it will be as allies rather than enemies, but he accepts that she must follow her convictions. The rebellion consumes the galaxy's attention for months. Malgus proves as formidable in politics as in combat, carving out territory and defending it against both Republic and Imperial forces. For a time it seems he might actually succeed in creating his alternative empire. Then, the combined weight of both establishments crushes him. Republic and Imperial fleets unite against the common threat, setting aside their enmity long enough to eliminate someone who threatens the established order. Both depend on. The battle at Ilum is brutal and decisive. Malgus's forces, outnumbered and outmaneuvered, collapse under overwhelming assault. News of his defeat reaches Shae while she travels between worlds, already beginning the work of contacting clan leaders and building support. She feels genuine sadness. A warrior of his caliber deserved better than defeat at the hands of the corrupt systems he tried to replace. But his failure only confirms her decision. Even someone as powerful as Malgus could not reshape the galaxy to his vision. The Empire and Republic are too entrenched, too invested in the current system. Fighting them directly leads only to destruction. Better to focus on what can be accomplished. The clans are scattered, but not destroyed. Mandalorian culture fades, but has not died. With proper leadership, with unity and purpose, they could become a third power. Not trying to conquer the galaxy like Malgus, but carving out their own space, their own destiny. The aftermath of Malgus's rebellion leaves the galaxy tense and suspicious. Both major powers punish anyone they suspect of sympathizing with his movement. Neutral parties find themselves pressured to choose sides, accept protection that amounts to subjugation. Several Mandalorian clans suffer during this period, their neutrality interpreted as disloyalty by whichever side they happen to border. Warriors are killed in retaliatory strikes that have nothing to do with their actions. Families are displaced, the scattered diaspora becomes even more scattered. Shae watches her people suffer and knows she cannot wait longer. Every day of division, every week without leadership, more Mandalorians die in others' wars or fade into the galaxy's anonymous masses. The time has come to stop serving others and start building something for her own. She begins on Mandalore itself, returning to the ancestral homeworld for the first time in years. The planet bears scars from ancient wars and recent neglect. Cities that once housed millions stand partially empty. The great forges that produced legendary armor lie cold, but the bones remain. The spirit endures. She walks through the ruins of what was, envisioning what could be. Mandalorians united under single purpose, culture revived and strengthened, a people standing on their own rather than serving as weapons in others' arsenals. It will take everything she has. Every skill learned across years of warfare, every contact made during her mercenary career, every lesson absorbed from watching empires rise and fall. The path from where Mandalorians are now to where they need to be is long and treacherous. But someone must walk it. Someone must take the first steps. In the ruins of an ancient Mandalorian stronghold, under stars that witnessed the glory of past Mandalores, Shae Vizla makes her commitment. She will unite the clans. She will claim the mask. She will give her people the future they deserve. Or die trying. The transformation from mercenary to leader, from individual warrior to Mandalore, begins in earnest. The galaxy will not make it easy. The clans will resist and doubt. Enemies will emerge from unexpected directions. None of that matters. The decision is made. The path is chosen. Now comes the hard part. Actually walking it. The first clan meeting happens on Concord Dawn, neutral ground, where various Mandalorian factions can gather without immediate violence. Shae sends word through every contact she has, calling for representatives to discuss the future. She expects skepticism. What she gets borders on hostility. 17 clans send representatives. Another 24 send messages explaining why they will not attend. The reasons vary, but the underlying message stays consistent. Who is Shae Vizla to summon clans like some would be Mandalore? She has reputation as a fighter. Yes, but that does not grant authority to lead. The meeting hall is a converted warehouse, chosen because none of the attending clans can claim it as territory. Shae arrives early, watching the others file in. She recognizes some faces from various battlefields and contracts over the years. Others are strangers, warriors from clans that have avoided Imperial and Republic entanglements, staying isolated in the far reaches. They do not sit in any organized fashion. Clan groups cluster together, maintaining careful distance from traditional rivals. The atmosphere crackles with old grudges and fresh suspicions. Getting these beings to agree on anything beyond the definition of a blaster rifle will be achievement enough. Shae does not waste time with speeches about unity and shared heritage. These are Mandalorians. They respond to strength and honesty, not flowery rhetoric. She stands in the center of the gathered warriors and states facts. The clans are dying, scattered across the galaxy, serving whoever pays them, losing their children to other cultures, watching traditions fade generation by generation. In another 50 years, Mandalorians will exist only as historical footnotes and armor in museums. This future is not inevitable, but preventing it requires unity, requires leadership, requires clans setting aside feuds old enough that no one remembers the original causes. It requires Mandalorians serving Mandalorian interests rather than dancing to Imperial and Republic tunes. The objections come immediately, as expected. Who is she to lecture about unity when she spent years working for the Empire? What gives her the right to call for leadership when she has never led more than kill teams? Why should ancient clans follow someone who made her name as a mercenary? Torian Kadera speaks up from the back. Young warrior from a respected clan, his father Jikalan, a conservative voice who initially opposed this gathering. Torian is different. He has watched Mandalorian culture from the inside, seen how it decays, felt the absence of purpose beyond individual survival. He tells the gathered clans what Shae accomplished on that nameless world where two clans were destroying each other. How she walked into a camp to kill their leader and instead convinced both sides to stop the feud. How she forfeited payment to preserve Mandalorian lives. How she demonstrated that strength is not just about who you can kill, but about what you can build. Others speak, some in support, more in opposition. An older warrior named Bevan Tor challenges her directly. If she wants to lead, let her prove herself the traditional way, single combat against champions from clans that question her worthiness. Shae accepts immediately. She came here expecting to fight, knew that words alone would never convince warriors raised to value combat prowess above all else. The only real surprise is how many clans put forward champions. Apparently quite a few are eager to humble the mercenary who presumes to leadership. The challenges are scheduled across 3 days. Mandalorian tradition requires proper ceremony, witnesses, opportunity for all parties to prepare. Shae uses the time to assess her opponents, studying their armor configurations and movement patterns, identifying likely fighting styles. The first bout happens at dawn on the second day. Her opponent is a massive warrior from Clan Gendry, armored like a battle tank, wielding a beskad that could decapitate a bantha. He fights with raw power, each swing carrying enough force to shatter bones even through armor. Shae gives ground initially, letting him expend energy, studying his patterns. When he overcommits on a particularly fierce strike, she sidesteps and sweeps his legs. He goes down hard, and her blade finds the gap between helmet and chest plate before he can recover. Not a killing blow, just a demonstration of where it could have landed. He yields honorably. Clan Gendry will consider her proposal. The second fight is more technical. A smaller warrior, female from Clan Rodark. She specializes in close-quarters combat, using vibro knives and unarmed techniques to exploit armor's weak points. Shae matches her style for style, the two of them engaged in a brutal dance where millimeter differences in positioning determine victory. Blood flows from a dozen minor cuts before Shae finally pins her opponent and forces submission through joint lock that threatens permanent damage. Clan Rodark agrees to hear more about this unity proposal. The third through fifth challenges blur together. Different styles, different tactics, all testing various aspects of combat skill. Shae defeats them all, though not without cost. Her armor shows damage from the accumulated fights. Bruises cover her body beneath the Beskar plates, but she remains standing while her challengers acknowledge defeat. The sixth challenge comes from Como Fett, a descendant of the legendary Fett line, representing a coalition of traditionalist clans. He is younger than Shae, but carries the arrogance of someone who has never truly lost. His armor bears symbols of Deathwatch, the radical faction that historically advocated for endless crusade and conquest. This fight is different from the start. Como does not simply want to test her skill. He wants to break her, to prove that traditional warrior supremacy cannot be challenged by a mercenary upstart. His attacks carry killing intent, disregarding the usual protocols that keep these honor duels from becoming executions. Shae adapts, meeting lethal force with appropriate response. They clash across the designated fighting ground, weapons ringing against armor and shields, neither giving quarter. Como is genuinely skilled, his technique refined through years of dedicated training. Under other circumstances, he might be exactly the kind of warrior Mandalorians need. But his vision is poisoned by extremism. She hears it in the words he spits between strikes. Mandalorians should conquer, not negotiate, should take what they want by force, not seek accommodation with lesser cultures. The galaxy should fear them, tremble at the approach of Mandalorian armies, surrender before shots are fired. It is the old Death Watch philosophy, the thinking that led previous generations into disastrous wars they could not win. Shae has seen where that path leads. Watched empires use Mandalorian aggression for their own purposes, spend Mandalorian lives in campaigns that serve no one's interests except those safely distant from the fighting. She defeats Como through patience and superior tactical thinking. He is stronger, possibly faster, but she understands combat in ways his rigid traditionalism cannot match. When he overextends pursuing what he thinks is an opening, she turns his momentum against him, sending him crashing into a support pillar with enough force to crack his helmet. Standing over his prone form, she speaks loud enough for all gathered clans to hear. Strength matters, combat skill matters, but they are not enough. A leader must know when to fight and when to build, when to show mercy and when to show force, how to serve the people's true interests rather than personal glory. Como refuses to yield, tries to rise for another round. She could kill him easily. Many in the crowd expect it. Death Watch philosophy respects only strength, and eliminating him would send a clear message. Instead, she steps back and offers her hand. The fight is over. He lost. Honorable combat does not require death, only acknowledgement of defeat. She will not kill a skilled Mandalorian warrior, simply to prove a point about pride. He stares at her hand for long seconds, the gathered clans watching in absolute silence. Then, slowly, he takes it, lets her help him to his feet. His admission of defeat comes grudgingly, but it comes. Not all the traditionalist clans accept this outcome. Some withdraw their representatives, refusing to follow someone who shows such weakness. But others, seeing strength tempered with wisdom, begin to reconsider. Perhaps this mercenary has qualities that pure warriors lack. Perhaps leadership requires more than just winning fights. Over the following weeks, Shae travels between Mandalorian settlements, meeting with clan leaders individually. She learns quickly that each clan has different concerns, different histories, different visions of what Mandalorian unity should look like. There is no single argument that will convince all of them, so she tailors her approach. For clans concerned about preserving tradition, she emphasizes cultural revival. For those worried about economic stability, she discusses sustainable systems beyond mercenary contracts. For warriors hungry for glory, she speaks of campaigns to reclaim lost territories and defend Mandalorian space. Not all conversations succeed. Some clans are too damaged by internal conflicts to consider external unity. Others profit too much from the current chaos to want change. She accepts these failures and moves on. Perfect unity is impossible. Sufficient unity to matter, that might be achievable. Jekylin Kadira proves unexpectedly difficult to win over, despite his son's support. The elder Kadira has lived through multiple failed attempts at unification, watched promising leaders rise and fall. He questions what makes Shae different from all the others who talked about unity while serving their own ambitions. The conversation happens in his home on Dexan, surrounded by trophies from decades of hunts and battles. Shae does not try to convince him through argument. Instead, she asks him to help. His experience and wisdom are exactly what this movement needs. He has seen what does not work. That knowledge is invaluable for avoiding past mistakes. The appeal to his expertise, rather than demanding his loyalty, shifts something. Decatan begins offering genuine critique of her plans, pointing out flaws and unrealistic assumptions. The conversation becomes collaboration, and by the end, he has committed Clan Kadera's support, not because she won him over with rhetoric, but because she demonstrated willingness to listen and learn. Through Jatkul's contacts, doors open to other conservative clans. His endorsement carries weight that hers alone could not. The coalition grows stronger, more diverse, representing different philosophical approaches unified by common need. Not all recruitment happens through words. On Geonosis, she leads a mixed force of warriors from allied clans in rescuing Mandalorian prisoners held by Huttite slavers. The operation requires multiple clans working together, coordinating tactics, trusting each other with their lives. Success proves that unity provides practical advantages beyond philosophical satisfaction. The freed prisoners, many of whom have been held for years, join her cause immediately. They have experienced what happens to isolated Mandalorians, what fate awaits those without clan protection. Unity is not abstract concept to them. It is survival. 5 months after that first meeting on Concord Dawn, Shae has assembled a coalition representing over 40 clans. Not a majority of Mandalorians galaxy-wide, but enough to legitimately claim she speaks for a significant portion of the people, enough to call for the trials that will determine worthiness to wear the mask. The announcement goes out through every channel, traditional and modern. In 3 months, trials will be held on Mandalore itself. Any warrior who believes themselves worthy can compete. The challenges will test combat skill, strategic thinking, leadership capability, and spiritual connection to Mandalorian heritage. Whoever emerges victorious will claim the Mask of Mandalore and the authority that comes with it. The challenge is open to anyone, but everyone understands who this is truly meant for. Shae has built the coalition, gathered the support, demonstrated the qualities she claims. The trials are formality, but necessary formality. Mandalorians will not follow someone who has not proven themselves through proper channels. Como Fett announces he will compete, bringing warriors who share his traditional views. Several other strong fighters declare their intention to participate. This will not be coronation. It will be genuine competition, and failure means losing everything she has worked toward. Shae prepares as she would for any critical mission. Physical training to ensure peak combat readiness, strategic study of past Mandalores and what made them effective, meditation on what leadership truly means, and whether she possesses necessary qualities. Torian finds her during this preparation period, offers to spar and provide honest assessment of weaknesses. The sessions are brutal, forcing her to confront gaps in technique and conditioning, but they make her sharper, more ready. Jakian offers different kind of help. He speaks of the spiritual aspects of leadership, the responsibilities that come with the mask, the weight of making decisions that affect entire people's future. This is not just about being the best fighter. It is about becoming something larger than individual warrior. The lessons are sobering. Shae has always fought for personal glory or mercenary payment. Leading means sacrificing personal desires for collective good. It means accepting that every decision will please some and anger others. It means living with consequences that ripple across generations. The 3 months pass with terrifying speed. Before she feels ready, the day arrives. Clans gather on Mandalore from across the galaxy, thousands of warriors assembling to witness trials that will determine their future. The event has weight that transcends normal combat or politics. This is about identity, about what Mandalorians will become. Shae stands among other competitors, feeling the significance pressed down like physical burden. Everything she has worked for depends on the next several days. All the plans, all the coalition building, all the dreams of united Mandalorian future hinge on her performance in ancient trials. She looks up at the stars visible even in Mandalore's daytime sky, stars beneath which countless Mandalores stood before her. Some succeeded in leading their people to glory, others failed and were forgotten. Soon she will know which category she belongs to. The trials begin at dawn. The ancient amphitheater chosen for the trials has hosted this ceremony for millennia. Stone worn smooth by countless boots, seats carved from native rock, the architecture itself predating the Republic by thousands of years. Mandalorians built this place when they were kings of surrounding systems, before defeats and diaspora scattered them across the galaxy. Now their descendants gather here again, hoping to witness rebirth. 22 competitors stand in the arena's center, each representing different clans and philosophies about what Mandalore should be. Shae recognizes most of them. Warriors she has fought beside or against, leaders from various factions, a few unknowns who believe themselves worthy despite limited reputation. Como Fett stands across from her, his Death Watch contingent, creating island of red and black armor, among the more diverse colors other clans wear. He catches her eye and nods. Not respect exactly, but acknowledgement. They are enemies in philosophy, but peers in skill. The trial master is an ancient Mandalorian named Corn Seer, old enough that no one knows his exact age, respected enough that all factions accept his authority. He wears simple armor without clan markings, representing tradition itself rather than any particular group. His voice carries across the amphitheater without artificial amplification, decades of command presence lending it weight. The trials will test everything required in a Mandalore: combat prowess to defend the people, strategic wisdom to lead them, strength of spirit to embody their ideals. Any competitor may withdraw at any time without shame. Defeat in honest competition brings no dishonor, but the mask demands excellence. Mediocrity will not be tolerated. The first trial is simple elimination combat, not to the death, but to clear defeat. The competitors are paired randomly, winners advancing, losers eliminated, or given chance to re-enter through additional challenges. Shae draws a warrior from Clan Cadera, not Taurian, but one of his distant cousins, capable fighter, but not in her class. She defeats him in under 2 minutes, using superior speed and technique to bypass his defenses. He yields honorably, and she helps him stand. No hard feelings. Both understand this is about finding the best, not personal grudges. The fights continue throughout the morning. Como dismantles his opponent with brutal efficiency, sending a message about his capabilities. Others struggle through close matches, barely advancing. By noon, the field has reduced from 22 to 11 competitors. The second trial tests strategic thinking. Competitors are given scenarios based on historical Mandalorian conflicts, asked to propose solutions. Not academic exercises, but practical problems with no perfect answers, designed to reveal thinking patterns and priorities. Shae's scenario involves a Mandalorian fleet trapped between larger Republic and Imperial forces. Retreat means abandoning Allied ground forces. Fighting means likely destruction of the fleet. Negotiation means accepting subordinate status under whichever side offers better terms. She proposes a fourth option, using the fleet to create passage for ground force evacuation, then scattering into prepared fallback positions where superior numbers provide less advantage. Accept losses to preserve overall force integrity, then rebuild from dispersed positions. Mandalorians excel at guerrilla warfare. Use that strength rather than fighting battles that favor enemies. The trial master questions her ruthlessly. She defends every assumption, explains her reasoning, acknowledges where her plan could fail, not trying to claim perfection, but demonstrating systematic thinking and willingness to adapt. Other competitors present their solutions. Some advocate pure aggression, attacking the larger forces with shock tactics. Others propose complex negotiations. Como suggests abandoning the ground forces entirely. They knew the risks. Preserving the fleet, the mobile power, matters more than individual warriors. The answer reveals his philosophy: strength over honor, strategic value over loyalty. Exactly the thinking that makes Deathwatch dangerous. Powerful warriors capable of terrible decisions. 3 competitors failed this trial, their proposed solutions revealing fundamental misunderstanding of Mandalorian capabilities or values. They withdraw with respect, acknowledging that leadership requires qualities they lack. The third trial is endurance. Competitors must complete a course through Mandalore's wilderness, navigating harsh terrain while carrying full combat loads. No weapons allowed beyond survival basics. The test is not speed but completion, showing that a Mandalore must endure when conditions become impossible. The course spans 2 days of brutal terrain. Shae pushes through exhaustion and environmental challenges, her mercenary experience in hostile environments proving valuable. Others fall behind, some dropping out due to injury or inability to continue. Como keeps pace with her for most of the course, his conditioning excellent despite his relative youth. They even cooperate briefly when both encounter a particularly difficult cliff face, helping each other find secure holds. Temporary alliance born of mutual respect dissolve the moment they reach easier ground. She crosses the finish line among the first group, body screaming in protest but spirit satisfied. 5 competitors failed to complete the course. The field now numbers 3, herself Como, and a surprise contender named Rhaena Scythe from a minor clan who has fought with unexpected brilliance throughout. The final trial is combat against all 3 simultaneously, not against each other, but against a series of challenges designed to test absolute limits. Fighting droids programmed with data from legendary Mandalorian warriors of the past. Each droid represents a different historical Mandalore's fighting style and tactical approach. Shae faces a droid that fights like Mandalore the Indomitable, the leader who challenged the Republic 2 centuries ago. The machine's attacks are relentless, each strike backed by overwhelming power. She gives ground strategically, using superior mobility to avoid being cornered, waiting for openings that appear only when the droid overcommits. Defeating it requires everything she has learned across years of combat. Mercenary pragmatism combined with Mandalorian traditional techniques, adapted in real time to counter an opponent that does not tire or make emotional mistakes. When the droid finally falls, she is bleeding from a dozen wounds, her armor scored and dented, but she remains standing. The watching clans roar approval. Como faces a droid styled after Mandalore the Preserver, the leader who rebuilt the clans after the Jedi Civil War. His approach is direct assault, trying to overwhelm the droid through pure aggression. It nearly works. The droid adapts to his pattern and counters, exploiting his tendency to overextend. Como takes severe damage before finally destroying his opponent, staggering away from the fight clearly worse off than Shae. Rhaena's challenge ends in defeat. She fights well, demonstrating courage and skill, but the droid representing Mandalore the Ultimate proves too much. She yields before suffering permanent injury, withdrawing from the trials with honor intact. The field is now 2. Corn Seer announces the final challenge, single combat between the remaining competitors for the right to claim the mask. Traditional rules: fight until one yields, is incapacitated, or dies. No restrictions on technique or weaponry beyond what Mandalorian honor allows. The amphitheater falls silent. This is what everyone came to witness. The moment when leadership is determined through oldest method known to their people, trial by combat. Shae and Como face each other across the arena floor. Both are exhausted, injured, running on pure determination. Both have proven themselves worthy by any reasonable measure. In another time they might have been allies, their complementary skills making them formidable team. But only one can be Mandalore. The fight begins without signal or ceremony. Cormo launches himself forward, the scad sweeping toward her neck in strike, meant to decapitate. Shae deflects with her own blade, the impact sending shockwaves through her injured arm. They separate, circle looking for openings. This is not like the earlier honored duels. Both fighters are too skilled, too experienced, too determined for quick victory. They trade strikes and counters, each testing the other's defenses, looking for patterns to exploit. The watching crowd fades from Shae's awareness. There is only the opponent, the blade, the eternal now of combat. Minutes stretch into what feels like hours. Both warriors bleed from accumulated damage. Kumo's aggressive style begins to show weakness as fatigue affects his precision. Shae's more conservative approach preserves energy but gives him opportunities to press attacks. He nearly kills her twice. Once with a strike that she barely deflects, the blade's edge actually cutting into her armor's underlay. Second time, with a kick that sends her sprawling, his follow-up attack missing by centimeters as she rolls desperately aside. She nearly kills him once. A throw that sends him crashing into the arena wall, leaving him vulnerable for precious seconds. But she hesitates, remembering her philosophy about preserving Mandalorian warriors, and the moment passes. The fight shifts when Cormo makes his critical error. Frustrated by her defense, he attempts an advanced technique, a spinning strike meant to bypass her guard through misdirection. Under normal circumstances, it might work, but he is exhausted, his timing fractionally off. Shae sees the opening, sees where his momentum carries him, where his guard drops, where the strike will land if she commits fully. Time seems to slow as she makes the decision. She could kill him. End this now with lethal counter that he cannot possibly defend against. Instead, she uses the flat of her blade, strikes his weapon hand with precisely controlled force, sending his Beskad flying. Before he can recover, she has him in a joint lock, her blade at his throat. The amphitheater holds its breath. She speaks softly, for his ears alone. You are a great warrior. Mandalorians need warriors like you, but we need builders too, leaders who understand that strength serves purpose beyond conquest. Yield with honor. Help me build what we both want to see. Cormo's eyes search her face, looking for weakness or deception. He finds only honesty. The warrior who defeated him, could have killed him, chose mercy instead. Chose to preserve Mandalorian strength rather than glorify her own victory. His yield carries across the silent amphitheater, clear, formal, acknowledging her superiority. The crowd erupts in response, the noise deafening. Corn Seer approaches carrying the mask on ancient cushion. The artifact is simple Beskar, worn by countless leaders across millennia, yet it seems to radiate significance. Accepting it means accepting responsibility for entire people's fate. The old warrior speaks ritual words in Mandalore, the ancient tongue, recounting the duties and obligations of Mandalore, to lead in war and peace, to preserve culture and adapt to necessity, to put people before self, to bear the weight of decisions that will echo across generations. Shae kneels as tradition demands. The mask settles onto her head, cool metal against her skin. In that moment something shifts in her perception. She is no longer just Shae Vizla, mercenary and bounty hunter. She is Mandalore. The weight is almost physical, pressing down on shoulders that must now carry entire people's hopes. Corn Seer speaks the final proclamation. Rise, Mandalore, the Avenger. Lead your people to glory and honor. May your strength be their shield and your wisdom be their guide. She stands. The assembled clans kneel in recognition of their new leader, thousands of warriors acknowledging her authority. Even Cormo kneels, his pride set aside in face of tradition and her demonstrated worthiness. Her first words as Mandalore echo across the amphitheater. "We are Mandalorian. We have been scattered and broken, used as tools in others' wars, forgotten by the galaxy we once challenged. No longer. Today we reclaim our identity. Today we choose our own path. We will serve no empire and no republic. We will build our own future, defended by our own strength, guided by our own values." The clan's roar approval. Not universal. Not every Mandalorian will accept her leadership, but enough. Enough to matter. Enough to make the difference between fading into history and forging new legend. As the sun sets over Mandalore, bathing ancient stones in red-gold light, Shae Vizla stands as Mandalore the Avenger, looking toward horizon and future equally uncertain. The trials are complete. The mask is claimed. But the real work, the challenge of actually leading a fractured people toward unity and strength, that work is just beginning. She has won the right to try. Now she must prove herself worthy in ways that combat trials cannot measure. The transformation from hunter to leader is complete. What comes next will determine whether that transformation matters, whether Mandalorians can truly become what she envisions, or whether this is just another failed attempt at glory that will end in disappointment. But tonight, under stars that witnessed the rise and fall of countless Mandalorians, hope is alive. The clans are gathering. The people are united, at least in this moment. And a warrior who learned to build as well as destroy stands ready to guide them forward. The legend of Mandalore the Avenger has begun. The Sith Empire does not accept Mandalorian independence gracefully. Within weeks of her coronation, Imperial intelligence begins spreading propaganda about ungrateful mercenaries forgetting their place. Darth Maul himself, the most pragmatic member of the Dark Council, sends a message demanding Shae reconsider her position. The Empire made Mandalorian resurgence possible. Abandoning that partnership would be unfortunate for all involved. The threat is barely veiled. Submit or face consequences. Shae responds by formally withdrawing all Mandalorian forces from Imperial contracts. No negotiation. No gradual transition, complete severance. The message is clear. Mandalorians serve Mandalore now, not foreign powers. The Imperial response comes swiftly. A battle fleet under Darth Maul's direct command jumps into the Darvanis system, targeting the mining colony that provides crucial resources for Mandalorian armor production. The official justification is enforcing unpaid contract penalties. Everyone understands the real purpose. Punishment, demonstration that defying the Empire carries costs. Darvanis holds strategic and symbolic importance. Lose it, and the newly united clans lose access to rare metals essential for Beskar alloy production. Worse, losing the first test of independence would shatter the coalition's confidence. Clans would question whether Shae can actually defend Mandalorian interests, or if her talk of independence was empty posturing. She has 6 days between receiving warning of the Imperial fleet's approach and its arrival in system. 6 days to organize a defense against forces that outnumber and outgun her available ships. The odds are terrible. Conventional tactics suggest evacuation, preserving forces for later engagements. But this is not about conventional tactics. This is about proving Mandalorians can stand alone. Shae calls her War Council, now formalized with representatives from major clans. Jekulan Kadera advocates strategic withdrawal, live to fight another day. Como Fett, who accepted a position as military commander after the trials, argues for total commitment, fight with everything available, win or die, trying. She listens to both perspectives, then outlines a third option. They will fight, but not the way the Empire expects. Darvanis is a mining world, riddled with tunnels and underground facilities. The terrain favors defenders who know how to use it. Mandalorians wrote the manual on asymmetric warfare against superior forces. The plan comes together quickly. Most of the Mandalorian fleet will appear to flee, drawing Imperial capital ships into pursuit. Meanwhile, ground forces entrench in the mining complexes, turning them into fortified positions. When the Empire commits ground troops to secure the facilities, the trap springs. Imperial arrogance works in their favor. Mana's fleet arrives expecting token resistance before inevitable Mandalorian capitulation. Instead, they find a scattered defense that seems to be collapsing. The Imperial commander, confident in his overwhelming advantage, commits his troop transports to rapid planetary assault. The first wave lands near the primary mining complex. Shae watches from a command bunker deep underground as Imperial soldiers deploy in textbook formations, professional, well-equipped, following doctrine that has conquered dozens of worlds. That doctrine assumes defenders will meet them in open combat. Instead, the Mandalorians let them advance into the complex unopposed, sensors and communications degrading as they move deeper into tunnels lined with minerals that interfere with standard military technology. When the trap activates, it happens from all directions simultaneously. Mandalorian commandos emerge from hidden positions, pouring fire into Imperial formations caught in confined spaces where their numerical superiority means nothing. Explosives collapse tunnels behind advancing troops, cutting off retreat and reinforcement. The mining complex becomes a maze of death, every corridor a potential ambush. Shae leads from the front, her crimson armor visible wherever fighting is thickest. She needs the warriors to see their Mandalore sharing the danger, not directing from safety. Morale matters as much as tactics in this kind of fight. The Imperial commander responds by committing more troops, trying to overwhelm defenses through sheer mass. Exactly what Shae anticipated. Every soldier sent underground is one less protecting the landing zones, one less available for rapid redeployment. The second phase begins when Mandalorian fleet elements that appeared to flee return from unexpected vectors, not trying to engage capital ships directly, but striking at the vulnerable troop transports and support vessels, hit-and-run attacks that destroy Imperial logistics while avoiding decisive engagement. The battle sprawls across 3 days of grinding combat. Imperial forces have advantages in numbers and firepower. Mandalorians counter with superior knowledge of terrain and willingness to accept brutal close-quarters fighting. Both sides bleed heavily. On the third day, as Imperial casualties mount and strategic objectives remain unsecured, Darth Maul himself arrives planetside. Shae receives reports of a Sith Lord cutting through Mandalorian positions with terrifying efficiency, his force powers turning entire squads into casualties. She goes to meet him personally, not from bravado, but from necessity. A Force user of his caliber will continue killing her warriors until stopped. She cannot stop him, not really, but she can slow him down while reinforcements evacuate critical positions. They meet in a cavernous mining chamber, the only light coming from their weapons and emergency luminescence. Miles is massive in his armor, presence radiating dark side power. His voice carries no anger, only cold assessment. This resistance is pointless. The Empire will take Darvanis eventually. Mandalorian blood is being wasted defending the indefensible. Surrender the world, preserve your warriors, accept that independence requires choosing battles more carefully. Shae keeps her blaster rifle trained on him, knowing it is inadequate but maintaining the gesture anyway. Darvanis matters precisely because it is difficult to defend. Win here, and the galaxy learns Mandalorians mean what they say. Lose here and independence becomes negotiable. Ma seems almost to respect her logic. He does not attack immediately, instead offering terms, withdraw now, with honor. The Empire will not pursue. Future conflicts can be avoided through pragmatic accommodation on both sides. She refuses, not because the offer is unreasonable, but because accepting it means acknowledging Imperial authority to grant or deny Mandalorian actions. The point is independence. Real independence, not conditional autonomy subject to Sith approval. The conversation ends, not with violence, but with understanding. Ma recognizes that she will not yield, that taking Darvanis will cost more than the world is worth. She recognizes that he is offering her a face-saving exit from untenable position. The Sith Lord withdraws his forces over the next day. The official Imperial statement claims strategic objectives were achieved and continued occupation unnecessary. Everyone knows the truth. The Empire blinked first. Mandalorian casualties are severe. 200 warriors dead, 3 times that number wounded. Facilities across Darvanis are damaged, some beyond repair, but they held against overwhelming Imperial power. They held. The victory resonates across Mandalorian space. Clans that remain skeptical about independence send delegations pledging support. Warriors serving the Republic quietly resign their positions and return home. The impossible has been proven possible. Mandalorians can stand alone. Shae walks among the wounded in field hospitals, speaking with each warrior who can still talk, learning their names, their clans, ensuring they know their sacrifice mattered. This is the cost of independence, written in blood and pain. She will not dishonor it by treating them as statistics. Jicqueline finds her as the sun sets on the 4th day after battle's end. The old warrior has reassessed his earlier caution. She proved him wrong about withdrawal being the wise choice. Sometimes the bold move is the correct one. More importantly, she proved that leadership is not just about winning, but about bearing the cost. Any Mandalore can order warriors into battle. The worthy ones stand with them in the fighting and grieve with them afterward. The Battle of Darvanis enters Mandalorian legend quickly. Already warriors are embellishing details, turning tactical victory into epic myth. Shae does not discourage this. People need legends. They need to believe their sacrifices serve larger purpose. But she knows the truth. They won this battle through careful planning, favorable terrain, and Imperial underestimation. Next time, the advantages might favor enemies. Building sustainable independence requires more than battlefield victories. She begins implementing long-term strategies, economic systems that reduce dependence on mercenary income, diplomatic relationships with neutral powers who value Mandalorian stability, cultural programs ensuring the next generation understands what they are fighting to preserve. The work is endless and often tedious. Nothing like the clarity of combat, but it matters, perhaps matters more than any individual battle. Mandalore the Avenger stands watch over her people, knowing that every decision shapes their future in ways combat never could. The warrior has become a builder. The transformation continues. Unity proves more fragile than victory. 8 months after Darvanis, cracks begin showing in the coalition. Small things initially, disputes over resource allocation, arguments about which traditions to preserve versus which to adapt, clans jockeying for influence in the new power structure. Then Como Fett disappears. The warrior who accepted defeat honorably, who served competently as military commander, simply vanishes along with 23 fighters loyal to him. Intelligence reports place them on Concordia, the moon that historically housed Death Watch operations. Shae knows immediately what this means. Carneo is building opposition, gathering warriors who believe her leadership too moderate, too willing to compromise with the galaxy instead of conquering it. The Death Watch philosophy never truly died. It just went dormant, waiting for the right moment to resurface. The first attack comes without warning. A Mandalorian transport carrying medical supplies to an outlying colony is ambushed. The crew killed, cargo stolen. A message left in blood on the hull. Real Mandalorians take what they need. They do not beg for scraps. More attacks follow. Supply convoys raided. Settlements loyal to Shae's government harassed. always by Mandalorians in unmarked armor, always leaving messages about weakness and lost warrior spirit. The attacks are designed to provoke response while avoiding direct confrontation with main forces. Como finally reveals himself through holographic broadcast to all Mandalorian settlements. He stands in full armor, surrounded by warriors bearing Death Watch symbols. His speech is passionate, appealing to traditional values and warrior pride. Mandalore the Avenger has grown soft. She negotiates when she should conquer, builds when she should destroy. The mask belongs on a warrior, willing to make the galaxy fear Mandalorian power. Again, not someone playing at politics with the same Republican empire that crushed their ancestors. He challenges her directly. Single combat for the mask. Traditional law allows it. If she refuses, she proves his accusations true. The War Council debates for hours. Duskillan warns it is a trap. Win or lose the duel, Como benefits. Win and he takes the mask, lose and he martyrs himself while delegitimizing her leadership. Better to ignore the challenge, deal with his rebellion through conventional military response. But Torian argues the opposite. Refusing the challenge makes her look weak. Mandalorian culture respects strength. She must face Como and defeat him decisively, proving her right to lead. Shae listens to both perspectives, then makes her decision. She will fight Como, but not alone. Not as Mandalore defending her position, but as one warrior among many defending what they have built together. He wants to make this about individual glory. She will make it about collective purpose. The response broadcast goes out within hours as she accepts his challenge, but changes the terms. Not single combat, but a trial by fire. Como and his followers against her, and equal number of volunteers fight on neutral ground. Winners prove their philosophy superior. Como cannot refuse without looking like a coward. He agrees, setting the engagement for Odor, a world neither faction controls. The night before departure, Shae meets with warriors who volunteered. 60 fighters willing to risk death to defend the vision of united, independent Mandalorians. Some are veterans who fought at Darvanis. Others are young warriors who never knew the old scattered clan system. All understand what this fight represents. She does not give them inspiring speeches, just honesty. Tomorrow, they fight other Mandalorians, something that should never happen. But Como's philosophy leads only to endless war and eventual destruction. Someone must stand against it. The battle on Ordo happens in ancient ruins, structures built by long-dead civilization, appropriate setting for fighting over Mandalorian future. Como's forces deploy aggressively, seeking quick, overwhelming victory. Shae's warriors use defensive positions, forcing attackers to come to them. The fighting is brutal in ways battles against outsiders are not. These are Mandalorians killing Mandalorians, warriors who should be brothers destroying each other over philosophical differences. Every death feels like failure. Shae finds Como in the chaos, both leaders drawn to each other by mutual need to end this personally. They clash amid the ruins, their duel observed by warriors from both sides who pause their own fighting to watch. This combat is different from their trial match, more desperate, more personal. Como fights with fury, born of genuine conviction. He truly believes Mandalorians need his vision, that her way leads to cultural death. She fights with sorrow, not for herself, but for the waste. Como is exactly the kind of strong, passionate leader Mandalorians need. His energy and conviction could build so much. Instead, it destroys. The duel lasts until both are bleeding and exhausted. In the end, Shae wins through the same patient tactics that succeeded before. She disarms him, puts him in position where continued fighting means certain death. This time, she does not offer mercy immediately. She makes him watch his warriors laying down arms, accepting defeat, makes him see that his philosophy, tested in actual combat, failed, not because his warriors lacked courage or skill, but because unity built on positive vision beats unity built on anger and conquest. Only then does she offer terms. Exile for him and his closest followers. The rest can return home if they renounce Deathwatch ideology and accept her leadership. No executions, no revenge. Mandalorians have bled enough. Kamo stares at her, searching for the trick. There is none. She means it. Even now, after all this, she chooses to preserve Mandalorian lives rather than eliminate threats. His acceptance of exile is bitter but genuine. He will leave, take his true believers, find some corner of the galaxy where they can pursue their vision without threatening hers. Maybe he will succeed. Maybe his way will prove superior, but not here, not among the clans she leads. The aftermath brings unexpected developments. Warriors who fought for Cormo, seeing how the duel and battle resolved, mostly choose to stay. They were not committed to Deathwatch ideology. They were frustrated with challenges of building new system, nostalgic for simpler times when being Mandalorian meant only fighting. Shae addresses them directly. Building is harder than destroying. Creating sustainable culture requires patience that combat does not, but it matters more. Their children will inherit whatever they construct now. That inheritance should be strength and stability, not endless war. The Schism crisis costs 37 Mandalorian lives total. 37 funerals where she must face families and explain why their loved ones died fighting other Mandalorians. The political victory feels hollow compared to that cost. But the coalition emerges stronger. The internal challenge has been met and defeated. Clans see that Shae's vision can withstand opposition. That unity does not mean fragility. Mandalorian space begins to stabilize. Economic reforms take hold. Cultural programs expand. The next generation grows up in unified Mandalorian society, not scattered diaspora. Slowly, carefully, the dream becomes reality. Then the Eternal Empire arrives, and everything changes again. The first warning comes from an explorer ship that stumbles into unknown region space and barely escapes. The captain's report sounds like madness, fleets beyond counting. Warships using technology decades beyond anything Republic or Empire possesses. A civilization that makes both galactic powers look like children playing with toys. Zakul, the Eternal Empire, ruled by an immortal emperor who wields force powers that make Sith and Jedi look like amateurs. Intelligence dismisses the report initially. Unknown regions are full of strange phenomena and unreliable sightings. But then more reports arrive. Entire Imperial fleets vanishing. Republic core worlds going silent. Something is moving through the galaxy, like a harvesting scythe. When the Eternal Fleet reaches Mandalorian space, Shae understands immediately that everything she built faces potential extinction. The enemy arrives without negotiation or warning. Sleek warships bearing unfamiliar configurations drop from hyperspace and begin systematic destruction of defense platforms. Mandalorian forces engage, but their weapons barely scratch Eternal Fleet hulls. The technological gap is horrifying. The first battle lasts 6 hours. Mandalorian defenders fight with desperate courage, using every tactic Shae has taught them. Nothing works. The Eternal Fleet adapts to each strategy, counters every move, destroys resistance with clinical efficiency. When withdrawal becomes necessary to prevent complete annihilation, she gives the order, better to preserve forces for defensive actions than waste them in unwinnable engagements. The Eternal Empire occupies 3 Mandalorian worlds within a week, not through overwhelming invasion forces, but through simple, unstoppable superiority. Their troops are fewer than defenders, but every technological advantage lies with them. Shae watches her carefully built independence crumble under assault. She cannot effectively counter. This is not like fighting the Empire or Republic. Those were opponents she understood, with weaknesses she could exploit. Zakuul is something else entirely. Reports from across the galaxy confirm her worst fears. Both Republic and Empire are falling. The Senate is evacuated from Coruscant. The Dark Council fractures as Sith Lords flee or attempt separate negotiations with Zakuul. Galactic civilization itself faces collapse. In this chaos, a new faction emerges, the Alliance led by someone called the Outlander, a coalition of Republic and Imperial refugees, remnants of both great powers unified by desperation. They are forming on Odessan, gathering forces to resist the Eternal Empire. The Alliance reaches out to Mandalore. They need warriors, need expertise in asymmetric warfare, need every advantage possible against an enemy that crushed both galactic superpowers. The Outlander requests meeting to discuss potential cooperation. Shae's advisors are divided. Some argue that joining the Alliance is necessary for survival. Others claim it risks Mandalorian independence, makes them subordinate to another galactic power struggle. She travels to Odessan personally to evaluate the situation. The Alliance base is organized chaos, Republic and Imperial personnel working side by side despite decades of enmity. The desperation is palpable. These are beings who watched their civilizations destroyed, now clinging to last hope. The Outlander proves interesting, not a politician or military strategist, but a warrior with personal history against Zakuul. Someone who understands the enemy in ways conventional forces cannot, talking with them. Shae recognizes similar qualities that define good Mandalorian leadership: pragmatism over ideology, results over politics, willingness to adapt. They negotiate terms carefully. Mandalorians will contribute forces to Alliance efforts, but maintain autonomous command structure. Shae retains authority over her warriors, approves missions before Mandalorian participation. No integration into Alliance military hierarchy. Partnership, not subordination. The Outlander accepts these terms. They need Mandalorian expertise more than they need bureaucratic control. Over the following months, Mandalorian forces become crucial to Alliance operations. They excel at the unconventional warfare required against technologically superior enemy. Guerrilla raids, sabotage operations, hit-and-run tactics that exploit the few weaknesses Eternal Empire forces display. Shae leads many operations personally, not because Mandalore must be on every battlefield, but because morale matters. Warriors fight harder, knowing their leader shares the danger. The Battle of Asylum proves decisive. Alliance intelligence identifies a major Eternal Fleet staging area. Destroying it would cripple their operational capacity in an entire sector. The mission is nearly suicidal. Volunteer force only. Every Mandalorian assigned to Alliance duty volunteers. Shae selects 50 of the best warriors she trusts with impossible missions. They infiltrate the facility using captured Zakuul shuttles, fight through defenses that kill half of them, plant charges that destroy the entire complex. 23 Mandalorians die in that operation. 23 warriors who could have stayed safe on Mandalorian worlds chose instead to fight for the galaxy's survival. She writes personal messages to each family, explaining how their loved ones died as heroes in a war that transcends Mandalorian interests. The Alliance's campaign against Zakuul spans years, slow grinding progress against overwhelming enemy. Mandalorians contribute significantly, their cultural acceptance of long odds and willingness to fight hopeless battles proving valuable. Eventually, through methods Shae never fully understands involving force powers and ancient Zakuulan politics, the Eternal Empire falls. Arkan is deposed, his fleet scattered, his control shattered. The Alliance emerges victorious, though at tremendous cost. Mandalorian casualties number in the thousands. Entire clans nearly wiped out. The price of survival was paid in blood and grief. But they survived. Where Republic and Empire fell into chaos, Mandalorians maintained cohesion. Where other cultures fractured under pressure, they held together. Shae returns to Mandalore after Zakuul's defeat. Walking streets, she wondered if she would ever see again. The clans gather to honor their dead and celebrate survival. The ceremony lasts 3 days, traditional rites ensuring fallen warriors receive proper recognition. Standing before assembled Mandalorians, Shae speaks of what they accomplished. They proved independence does not mean isolation, proved that Mandalorians can cooperate with others without losing identity, proved that their culture, their values, their way of life can endure even the most existential threats. The galaxy enters new uncertain era. Republic and Empire struggle to rebuild. New powers emerge from Zakuul's ashes. The political situation remains fluid and dangerous. But Mandalorians stand united, independent, stronger than they have been in centuries. The gamble she took, the vision she pursued, has been vindicated through the ultimate test. Mandalore the Avenger has led her people through the darkness and into a future they control. The legend continues. The years following Zakuul's defeat bring the stability Shae always envisioned. Mandalorian space expands, gradually reclaiming worlds lost generations ago, not through conquest, but through systematic resettlement. Clans that once fought each other now cooperate in rebuilding ancient strongholds and establishing new colonies. She watches the transformation with quiet satisfaction. Young Mandalorians grow up knowing unified culture, not scattered diaspora. They learn proper fighting techniques alongside traditional crafts. They speak Mandoa fluently, not as forgotten language but as living tongue. The armor they forge carries clan symbols with pride, not shame. Economic independence becomes reality. Mining operations on reclaimed worlds provide resources without depending on outside contracts. Trade agreements with neutral systems bring prosperity without compromising autonomy. Mandalorians still hire out as mercenaries occasionally, but on their terms, serving causes they choose rather than whoever pays most. The military reforms prove particularly successful. What was scattered collection of individual warriors becomes coordinated defense force, not abandoning the raider traditions that define Mandalorian warfare, but adding strategic depth and unified command structure. When threats emerge, response is swift and devastating. Shae steps back from daily governance gradually, not abandoning leadership, but delegating to capable advisors and clan representatives. She has proven Mandalorians can stand alone. Now they must prove they can sustain what was built. Torian Cadera grows into exceptional leader, his vision combining respect for tradition with openness to necessary change. Tolkien's mentorship shaped him well. When the old warrior finally dies, peacefully in his sleep surrounded by family, the funeral draws thousands. His contributions to Mandalorian resurgence are honored with every ceremony and tribute their culture knows. Shae feels age beginning to slow her, though she would never admit it publicly. The injuries accumulated across decades of combat make themselves known. Morning stiffness that does not fade as quickly, scars that ache in cold weather, the body keeping score of every battle fought. But the mind remains sharp, the will undiminished. She is Mandalore, and that responsibility does not retire simply because bones grow weary. On quiet evenings, she walks Mandalore's ancient battlefields, places where legendary warriors fell in conflicts spanning millennia. The ground remembers their sacrifice. The stones hold their stories. She adds her own experiences to that long history, one more Mandalorian chain stretching back to the beginning. Sometimes she wonders about roads not taken. What if she had joined Malgus's rebellion? What if she had refused the imperial contracts that started everything? What if Como had won their duel? The questions fade quickly. Second-guessing serves no purpose. She made choices based on information available. Values she held, vision she pursued. Those choices led here to united Mandalorian people with genuine future. That outcome justifies the path. The mask grows heavier with each passing year. Not physically, but spiritually. Every decision as Mandalore affects thousands of lives, ripples across generations. The weight of that responsibility never diminishes, never becomes comfortable. She carries it because someone must, because the alternative is worse. Young warriors sometimes ask how she manages the burden. Her answer is always honest. You do not manage it, you accept it. Leadership is not about feeling confident or comfortable. It is about serving your people regardless of personal cost. The galaxy continues its endless conflicts. Republic and Empire rebuild slowly, eyeing each other with familiar suspicion. New threats emerge from the unknown regions. Political factions scheme and maneuver. The chaos never truly ends. But Mandalorians stand apart from it now, not isolated, but independent, engaging when it serves their interests, refusing when it does not. The freedom to choose, earned through blood and sacrifice, proves more valuable than any amount of credits or territory. Shae stands on a balcony overlooking Keldabe, Mandalore's ancient capital, watching sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and crimson. The city has been rebuilt, its scars from past wars gradually fading. Below, she can see warriors training in traditional combat forms, hear children laughing as they play games their ancestors played centuries ago, smell food cooking in markets where multiple clans trade and socialize without tension. This is what she fought for, not glory or power, but simple normalcy. Mandalorians living as Mandalorians, raising families, preserving culture, facing future with confidence rather than fear. The stars emerge one by one as darkness deepens. Familiar constellations that guided Mandalorian navigators across countless journeys. She has traveled beneath those stars her entire life. From lone bounty hunter to Mandalore, from servant of empires to leader of her people, the stars witnessed every step. Somewhere out there, Como and his followers pursue their own vision. She wonders occasionally if they found what they sought. Death Watch philosophy never quite dies. Perhaps it never should. The tension between building and conquering, between peace and war, defines Mandalorian identity. Both impulses matter. Balance between them determines success or failure. Her legacy is secure now, not in monuments or titles, but in living culture. Mandalorian children who will grow up free, warriors who will defend their people's independence, leaders who will carry forward the vision she established. That continuity matters more than any individual glory. The mask will pass eventually to another, someone younger, stronger, with fresh vision for changing times. That transition is natural and necessary. Mandalorians do not need eternal leaders. They need succession, adaptation, continuous renewal. But not yet. She still has strength to serve, still has wisdom to share. The warrior's path does not end simply because the destination becomes visible. A cool breeze carries scents from the valley below. Growing crops, forges burning, life continuing in patterns both ancient and new. Mandalore breathes beneath her feet, the planet itself seeming to pulse with renewed vitality. She removes the mask, holds it in weathered hands. The scar catches starlight, gleaming softly. How many leaders wore this across the centuries? How many carried its weight through triumph and tragedy? She is one link in chain that stretches into past and future alike. The responsibility will pass. The chain will continue. Mandalorians will endure. That certainty brings peace deeper than any victory. She fought not for personal legacy, but for something larger. That something endures, will continue enduring, long after her name fades into legend, alongside countless others who served their people. The night deepens, stars multiply overhead until the sky blazes with ancient light. Somewhere in that vastness, other beings look up at the same stars, pursuing their own dreams and struggles. The galaxy continues its eternal dance of conflict and cooperation, destruction and creation. Mandalorians have found their place in that dance, not as conquerors or servants, but as themselves, strong, proud, independent. That is enough. That is everything. Shae Vizla, Mandalore the Avenger, stands beneath infinite stars and feels complete. The journey from hunter to leader is over. What remains is simply service, dedication, the daily work of ensuring her people's future stays secure. The crimson armor catches starlight as she turns back toward the city. Tomorrow brings new challenges, as all tomorrows do. She will face them as she has faced everything, with strength, wisdom, and unwavering commitment to Mandalorian survival. The legend continues in those who follow. The story never truly ends. It transforms, adapts, flows forward like river that cannot be stopped. And in quiet moments like this, that is exactly as it should be. If you enjoyed this journey through Shae Vizla's legend, consider subscribing for more deep dives into Star Wars legends, where forgotten warriors and untold stories wait to be discovered. The galaxy holds countless mysteries. Each one deserves to be remembered. Rest now. Let the story settle into dreams. The Mandalorian spirit endures, eternal as the stars themselves, waiting to inspire the next generation of warriors who will write their own chapters in the endless saga. The armor stands watch. The mask awaits its next bearer, and across Mandalorian space, beneath familiar constellations, a people sleep secure in their hard-won independence. The tale is complete. The warrior rests. The legend lives forever.